Hidden from the Emperor, Darth Vader trained a secret apprentice. His name was Starkiller. Meant to hunt Jedi, he became something far worse. A force Vader couldn't control, and a mistake so dangerous that it destroyed them both. But we'll get to that. So this is the story of Starkiller's rise, betrayal, and fall. The secret discovery. Our story begins in the early days of the Empire. Most Jedi were dead after the Republic and Order had fallen, with Darth Vader now hunting down the last survivors of Order 66. One of those survivors, Jedi Galen Marek, was hiding on the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk, where Imperial spies reported he was being protected by the Wookiees. So, Vader launched a full assault. He tore through their defenses without hesitation and confronted the Jedi face to face. Vader easily overpowered Galen with raw strength in the Force. However, when he sensed a far stronger presence nearby, he asked where Galen's master was. But when the Jedi told him the truth that his master was already dead, killed by Vader himself, he didn't believe it. Vader could still sense someone stronger nearby, a presence in the Force that didn't match the man in front of him. Before Vader could land the final strike, his lightsaber flew from his hand, ripped away by the Force. It wasn't Galen. It was his son, Galen. Vader was shocked by the boy's raw force power, especially how he used telekinesis without any training, revealing his extreme hidden potential. So, without hesitation, Vader killed Galen and the surrounding stormtroopers and took the boy with him. He still served the Emperor, but deep down, Vader hadn't forgotten his own pain and was already planning revenge. That's why he kept Galen a secret, so one day, when the boy was strong enough, they could take down the Emperor together. But Vader never expected that plan to backfire in the worst way possible. Forged in darkness. Vader took Galen and kept him hidden at the edge of the galaxy in his personal ship, the Executor. With a new chapter ahead, he was given a new name, Starkiller. Now, his life only consisted of constant training and torture. So over time, Galen's memories of his childhood and parents faded, pushed aside by the need to survive and please Vader. The training didn't just test his strength, but broke it down, reshaped it, and rebuilt him from the ground up. Each day, Vader pushed him harder, and PROXY, a droid designed to replicate Jedi fighting styles, would strike without warning, forcing Starkiller to fight like his life depended on it. He learned to expect the unexpected and to never let his guard down. Over time, he formed a strange connection with PROXY, because even though the droid was built to kill him, it was the only constant in his life. Ironically, the closest thing he had to a friend. Even with that bond, the training remained brutal, because the real training went far beyond anything PROXY could prepare him for. Vader taught only the basics, leaving Starkiller to survive brutal challenges on his own, like fending off Noghri assassins alone, which forced him to develop his own fighting style. Driven by obsession, he pushed himself even further, once ordering PROXY to chain him in darkness without food or light until he could build a lightsaber using only the Force. While the attempt failed, the pain made Starkiller stronger. He spent long stretches alone, cross-legged in silence, staring into the red glow of his lightsaber as it helped him channel his rage. But it never brought clarity. While other Force users saw glimpses of what was coming, Starkiller, no matter how strong he became, the Force showed him nothing. No visions, no warnings. And that made him furious. It felt like the Force itself was holding him back. Vader saw this as a weakness and began to question whether Starkiller was truly worthy of being his apprentice. But Starkiller continued forward, using his anger as fuel to master every challenge that came his way. Eventually, Vader began sending him on missions. Starkiller became his secret assassin, eliminating traitors and corrupt officers in the shadows. But he was never sent after Jedi, at least not yet. Starkiller was given his own ship, the Rogue Shadow, and went through several pilots over time. While some were killed in action, others were executed for even the smallest mistakes, including one who showed up late for a pickup and was killed by Vader on the spot. But this didn't bother Starkiller, because he viewed the deaths caused by his missions as necessary steps, not just to serve the Empire, but to ultimately earn Vader's respect and one day rule at his side. The trials begin. In 3 BBY, Starkiller finally got what he'd been waiting for. After an intense sparring match aboard the Executor, Vader suddenly ordered him to kneel. Starkiller expected to be executed, but instead, Vader declared his training complete and named him his official apprentice. The first assignment came without warning. Jedi Master Ram Koda was leading an assault against an Imperial base above Nar Shaddaa, putting himself directly in Vader's path. Vader gave a single, ruthless order to eliminate Koda and leave no survivors, not even the Imperial troops stationed at the facility. While Starkiller didn't agree with the decision to kill loyal soldiers, he obeyed without hesitation, believing that true Sith followed orders without question, even when they didn't understand their full purpose. Before departing, he met his new pilot, Captain Juno Eclipse. She had served under Vader and was now assigned to the Rogue Shadow as Starkiller's pilot. Juno's presence unsettled him, as she was different from the soldiers he'd killed without a second thought. But Starkiller knew better than to question Vader's choices. Still, he couldn't ignore the daunting feeling that there was something else at play. During his mission to Nar Shaddaa, Starkiller didn't hesitate as he tore through Koda's militia without slowing down and treating the defending Imperial troops no differently, cutting down anyone in his way. By the time he reached the command center, the entire base was in chaos. While Koda was focused and experienced, Starkiller was faster, more aggressive, and fueled by rage. So the fight didn't last long, as Starkiller overwhelmed Koda with raw force power, disarmed him mid-strike, and dragged his lightsaber across the Jedi's face, blinding him and leaving him barely conscious on the floor, just moments before the structure began to collapse, forcing Starkiller to flee. Vader was pleased, but this was only the first of 3 final missions, each one meant to prepare Starkiller for something much bigger that was still to come. Starkiller was sent to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant to continue his training. Inside the ruined halls of the Jedi Temple, Starkiller faced a simulation of Darth Desolus and defeated him in direct combat, proving he was strong enough to overcome even ancient Sith fighting styles. But this was only one of several trials Vader had planned to test whether his apprentice was truly ready. The next mission sent Starkiller to Raxus Prime. There, Starkiller was sent to kill Kazdan Paratus, a Jedi hiding among droids in a fake Jedi temple made from scrap. He moved through rough ground full of scrap, got past hidden traps, and destroyed groups of droids before finally reaching Paratus and defeating him inside the fake temple. Still, Vader wasn't finished. Back at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Starkiller faced Darth Phobos, another vision meant to test his mind using fear and illusions, including images of his father, Juno, and Vader. But he stayed focused, struck her down, and passed the trial without hesitation. Starkiller believed he was ready to overthrow the Emperor until Vader sent him on what seemed like a final test: the assassination of Jedi Master Shaak Ti. The Jedi Master had been hiding on Felucia, where she was training Force-sensitive natives to defend themselves against the Empire. Starkiller landed alone and made his way through the dense jungle, killing every warrior and creature that tried to stop him, until he finally reached the edge of a Sarlacc pit where Shaak Ti was waiting. Their fight was long and difficult. Shaak Ti fought with calm precision, and as she battled, she spoke about the Jedi Code, balance in the Force, reminding Starkiller of the life he'd chosen to forget. But Starkiller ignored her words, gaining the upper hand in the battle. Starkiller forced Shaak Ti into the maw of the Sarlacc, but she returned, controlling the beast and nearly overwhelming him before he blasted her and the tentacles with Force lightning. As she lay dying, Shaak Ti looked up at him one last time. "You're just his weapon," she said. "A slave too blind to see the truth. The Sith always betray their own." And with that, she let go, falling into the Sarlacc's maw, swallowed in a final burst of Force energy. Starkiller ignored her dying words, still loyal, still confident in his path. But those words would return to haunt him with betrayal right around the corner. Betrayal. After returning from Felucia, Starkiller was certain he had finally proven himself. Vader praised his strength and told him the time for their final move against the Emperor had come. But when he stepped into Vader's chambers aboard the Executor, ready for the final phase of their plan, something felt off. Vader didn't talk about an attack on the Emperor. Instead, he revealed they'd been discovered, as Palpatine's spies had tracked Starkiller back to them, and the plan was no longer a secret. When the Emperor entered the room, Vader acted without hesitation. He ignited his lightsaber and stabbed Starkiller through the chest, silencing his apprentice before he could even speak. Palpatine, enraged by the betrayal, instantly demanded proof of Vader's loyalty. Vader obeyed and hurled Starkiller across the chamber with a blast of raw Force power, shattering the viewport and casting him into the vacuum of space. Starkiller was left drifting, seemingly dead, betrayed, just like Shaak Ti had warned him. Vader's new plan. Starkiller's body was recovered from space by Imperial droids and transferred to the Empirical, Darth Vader's secret research vessel hidden in the Outer Rim. There, he was rebuilt with his body being patched together with advanced cybernetics and invasive procedures. The reconstruction was slow, done without anesthesia, and left him in constant pain, both physically and mentally. But even now, he remained under Vader's full control. He didn't know why he'd been spared. Every breath felt like punishment, and yet Vader still had a use for him. Her voice echoed in his mind. "You're just his weapon." Maybe she was right. Maybe he hadn't survived because he was special. Maybe he was rebuilt because Vader still had a use for his blade. Again, Vader gave him a new mission, not to hunt Jedi, but to secretly unite the Empire's enemies into a rebellion that would draw the Emperor's attention away and create an opening for Vader to strike. Starkiller had growing doubts, but he continued. His first mission was a personal one, as he set out to rescue Juno Eclipse, his former pilot who'd been imprisoned as a traitor after his supposed death. When he found her, he told her he'd left Vader and was building a rebellion, though that wasn't entirely true. true. Next, he searched for Jedi Master Ram Koda, who had been blinded during their last battle and was now drinking himself into oblivion on Nar Shaddaa. After hearing Starkiller out, Koda didn't fully trust him, but he saw the bigger picture and agreed to fight alongside him. But to start a rebellion, they needed more than a Jedi. They needed someone with real political power. Someone like Senator Bail Organa. Since words alone weren't enough to earn Organa's support, Starkiller traveled to Kashyyyk, where he freed Wookiee slaves and rescued Princess Leia from Imperial forces, ultimately securing the Senator's full trust. The rebellion began to take shape as missions increased, allies joined, and support across the galaxy steadily grew. When Starkiller led a major attack on an Imperial Star Destroyer factory on Raxus Prime, he used the Force to pull one of the cruisers out of orbit and crash it into the surface, proving the Empire wasn't untouchable. After the mission, the Apprentice contacted Vader, still believing they were working together to overthrow the Emperor, but Juno overheard the call. Still, she said nothing, choosing to stay loyal to Starkiller as their bond had grown stronger with every mission. Vader gave him one last assignment: to bring Organa, Mon Mothma, and Garm Bel Iblis together on Corellia, where they would sign a treaty and officially launch the Rebel Alliance to begin open resistance against the Empire. But the plan was never meant to succeed, at least not the way Starkiller expected. The fall of the rebellion. The Corellian treaty meeting had gone better than expected. With Organa, Mon Mothma, and Garm Bel Iblis aligned at last, the rebellion finally felt real. They were close to reaching an agreement. Organa would provide funding, Bel Iblis would handle weapons, and Mothma would lead the troops, while Starkiller, serving as the public face and force-wielding spearhead, would lead from the front. But before the treaty could be signed, the room fell into chaos. Vader had arrived. Imperial snowtroopers stormed the mountaintop ruins where the treaty had been signed, while Vader entered the chamber and calmly ordered the senators to be arrested for public execution. Koda charged him head-on, but was caught in a force grip and thrown aside. Vader revealed Starkiller's identity to the senators as his secret Sith apprentice, then suddenly hurled a stone table at him, blasting him through the chamber wall and out into the snow. Wounded and stunned, Starkiller pulled himself to his feet and demanded answers from his master, but Vader coldly admitted he had never planned to overthrow the Emperor, at least not with him. The rebellion had been a setup all along, and Starkiller was just a pawn. As Vader raised his blade to strike, Starkiller clung to the cliff's edge, too weak to fight back. But at that moment, PROXY intervened, disguised as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and launched a surprise attack. Vader destroyed the droid quickly. However, the distraction was enough. Vader thought the story of Starkiller was over, but he didn't realize that it was only the beginning. Starkiller lost his grip and fell into the snow below, surviving the impact, but lying unconscious for hours until Juno arrived on the Rogue Shadow. She pulled him aboard, and as his eyes closed, he finally spoke the name he'd buried for years: Galen Marek. Galen's last stand. When he regained consciousness, he was finally free of his former master's influence. A new chapter had begun. Galen rejected his codename of Starkiller and for the first time considered himself a Jedi. To save the rebellion, he entered a deep Force meditation, seeking visions that would reveal the location of the captured senators and Darth Vader. Though many possibilities rushed through his mind, one vision stood out: the Death Star. His mission was clear. He had to rescue the captured senators, and with them, the fragile rebellion, no matter the cost. So, before departing, he shared a final moment with Juno. He was unsure of his return. Once inside, he freed Wookiee slaves and sparked a revolt before pushing deeper into the battle station's core. With help from the liberated workers, he pushed through waves of Imperial forces and reached a convergence chamber near the Emperor's observation dome, where he defeated a deadly Shadow Guard and gained access to the throne room. There stood Vader. Without warning, Vader struck with overwhelming force, leaving Galen overwhelmed at first, but he quickly gained the upper hand, countering Vader's moves with speed and precision. Galen broke through Vader's defenses, dealing serious damage and revealing the scarred man beneath the mask, only for Palpatine to arrive and tempt him to finish Vader and take his place as the Emperor's apprentice. Galen hesitated. He was caught between revenge and the Jedi path. Then, Ram Koda seized Palpatine's lightsaber and charged, only to be overwhelmed by a blast of Force lightning. As the Emperor prepared to finish Koda, Galen made his final decision. Galen threw his comlink to the rebels for extraction, stepped into Palpatine's lightning to shield Koda, and, despite the searing pain, drew on the Force to unleash a shockwave that lasted away stormtroopers and left the Emperor stunned. Koda and the senators managed to escape. As Galen collapsed, his final thought was of Juno Eclipse. The clone. Galen Marek was dead, but his story wasn't over, because 6 months after Galen's death, Darth Vader began a secret experiment on Kamino. Using Galen's remains at the cloning facilities inside Tamira City, the Sith Lord aimed to create a stronger, more obedient version of his fallen apprentice. But the process proved unstable, with most clones going insane, overwhelmed by memories and visions from Galen's past they couldn't explain. And that's where things took an even more disturbing turn, because after many failed attempts, one clone finally survived after 1,330 38 trials. He seemed unstable, but memories of a past life, Juno Eclipse, Vader's betrayal, left him unsure whether they were truly his or just echoes from someone else. So, Subject 1138 escaped Kamino with the goal to uncover who he really was. Driven by flashes of Galen's past, Subject 1138 rescued General Kota from gladiator combat on Cato Nemoidia, but refused to join the rebellion, still uncertain if he was Galen, a clone, or something else entirely. Instead, he traveled to Dagobah and encountered Jedi Master Yoda. While on the swamp planet, Galen used the Force to locate Juno, the one constant memory of happiness from his past life. He tracked her to her medical ship, but arrived too late. Imperial forces led by Boba Fett had already captured her and were transporting her back to Kamino. Despite knowing it was a trap, Galen convinced Kota and the Rebel fleet to launch a full-scale assault on Kamino. During the battle, Galen fought through Imperial forces, but when he confronted a corrupted clone stripped of all emotion, he quickly defeated it, finally reaching Darth Vader, the full embodiment of all his suffering. Vader revealed Juno, threatening her life to force Galen into surrender. When she attempted to resist with Galen's own lightsaber, Vader struck her down. As her body hit the floor, something in Galen snapped, and his calm gave way to pure rage as he unleashed his full power, striking Vader down with a storm of Force lightning. Vader knelt, broken, with Galen standing over him, saber drawn. This was the moment, his to end, or to walk away. Now, the player had to decide what kind of man he truly was. In the suggested light side ending, Galen deactivated his saber. He let go of his anger, realizing that revenge wouldn't fix what had been broken. Juno had survived, and senators were safe, and his mission was complete. In an alternate dark side ending, Galen gave in to his rage and raised his lightsaber to execute Vader, only to be ambushed at the last moment. A dark clone struck him down from behind without hesitation, and Juno was killed moments later without mercy. Starkiller was never supposed to exist. He was created in secret, meant to be Vader's personal weapon, but that plan failed, and Galen Marek escaped his fate, broke the cycle, and helped ignite the rebellion. If you want more deep dives into untold Star Wars lore, make sure to subscribe. There's a lot more coming, and you won't want to miss it.